it still was as bad in a trend. I was told by analytics people that we in the previous games we were plus 25 or 27 or something like that. But those 3 games were a minus 58, I think it is. So it's a trend in those 3 games, a bad trend. And so, you know, we got to make sure we correct it, whether it's offensive focus, take care of the ball. But I do know in the 3rd quarter we're 30th in defense, and in the 4th quarter we're 1st. So that tells me something right there from a defensive standpoint where we stand. So it's about focus. It's on the starters to have the focus, the energy to come out in the 3rd quarter with that. And again, it's in those 3 games that's the biggest problem.
It sort of adds to the frustration that there was 3 days off leading up to it, and that it was such a focus that you guys had coming out with more.
Yeah, it is. It's always, you know, something when you emphasize something like that. Again, you know, the reason is the excuse you have is probably not important. It's just about focus coming out, habits, breaking trends and habits that or not to let them take hold and become a bigger problem. Again, it's something I know we can be better at. If we got those veteran players that are in the game in that situation, there's no reason to be making some of the mistakes. And I don't think it's effort. It's more focus, attention to detail, doing the little things, not taking shortcuts offensively, not taking shortcuts defensively. More than anything else, and being comfortable with a double-digit lead. And again, our older players know better.
Talking about Jakob last night, and his basketball instincts seem to be very advanced for a young player from a non-traditional background. How do you think that comes from?
I think Coach did a great job at Utah. They did a good job at Utah of teaching. He had been a pro player himself, so that helped lend to help Dwane and Jakob understand the pro game, the pick and roll game, the pick and roll defensive game, and just all the nuances that they did at Utah that really transferred to the NBA. And I think if you look at all this, the Kuzma kid with the Lakers is NBA ready. So I think, you know, you have some coaches who've had experience. I think some of the Duke players with Coach K's experience with the national team, playing with coaching the NBA players has helped his team. So now Duke players are more prepared and do more NBA-ready things that transfer to our game.
Jack's ability to read on the roll, either to finish or pass, is just quick thinking.
But it's quick thinking, processing things quickly. I think Lucas does an excellent job with that. JV's gotten much better, but it's natural with Jakob because there's a fine line, Doug, between finishing at the rim or kicking it out. You know, if you've seen some guys sometimes they're right there at the rim, go ahead and dunk it, but they kick it out. So, but Jakob does an excellent job of processing, reading, and those things really come into play. You know, it's great to do, you know, work on it, but now you get in the game, now you got 2 or 3 people in front of you. It's a quick decision to be made.
He doesn't get fouled. He doesn't get offensive fouls.
Right.
Well,
not yet.
Not yet.
Well,
yeah, but again, that's a skill to not go in there, jump up in the air. Jakob does a good job of getting sideways and not really going straight toward the basket and avoiding the charges. And that's another hazard of that. Man, Jakob does a good job of avoiding it.
Was that a big part of Larry's game too? Like, was he smooth like that going to the?
Well, I wouldn't say use the word smooth as Kostoviak as far as an NBA player, but he does a good job of teaching it. He's been an NBA assistant coach, so and he was a head coach in Milwaukee for a little bit. So he's done a good job of teaching those guys, and it's been drilled and drilled and drilled, and it's become natural for Dwane and for Jakob.
Even without Corey this year, you guys have gotten excellent point guard play, but even in terms of some of the things he brought off the court, is there something that stands out that you guys miss about Corey the most?
Well, Corey is just a beautiful young man. He's from a great family from here in Toronto. He's Canadian. He took that, he had Canadian, he wore that badge with pride, which is great. And so that's something you really respect about him. And it's just who he is. He's won a championship. And, you know, there's not a lot of those guys walking around in the NBA that has a ring. So that's something that I always drew from because I knew he'd been through the wars, he'd been through pressure, he's been through tough situations. And that's something I always respected about Corey. And you can't give that away. And so that's something we miss. our young guys are getting it now the hard way. They're learning, going through the fire, making mistakes, playing through it with the same type of passion. So they learn from Corey. I thought Corey did a good job of teaching Fred and Dwane and them emulating him. And I see some of the similar traits with these guys that Corey had. So again, we miss Corey, and again, like I told him the other day, we'll miss him. Except for 4 nights a year, we're going to try to beat his butt. So.
Coming from San Antonio and learning from Tony Parker, it's almost like he came here and.
Well, again, he did the same thing. He passed off. He was always talking to Fred, always talking to Dwane, and Kyle. He and Kyle played off each other, and I think Fred saw what Corey did for Kyle, and is doing some of the similar things, and Delon's doing some of the similar things. So he was a good mentor to those 2 young men, and they could watch him and how he played with Kyle and how he emulated. They can emulate some of the things he did.
Any word on Lucas?
No, he's has an MRI this afternoon.
We see Dwane with the ball handling. Is there anything up with him? Is he getting any closer?
No, he's still working. There's no timetable, Doug. He's still working at it. I think he's doing a little bit of shooting, but nothing major.